After sales of the PlayStation 5 failed to meet expectations over the holidays, Sony has said the console is entering the latter stage of its life cycle.
Bluepoint's remake is virtually one-to-one from a gameplay perspective, but
it's a remake. Like I said, it's a From Software game from 2009 for the PlayStation 3.
Fundamentally, Demon's Souls for PS5 is what it always has been. Barring some small tweaks, the design of the game is identical to From Software's original. The core mechanics are unchanged. The enemies are placed in the same positions and behave in the same ways.
I don't like the Demon's Souls remake. I think that it's inferior to the original in every way other than graphics. I think the atmosphere is worse. I think the art direction is much diminished. I think many of the changes to the music and to the enemy design misunderstand their purpose in the original.
The PS5 is trash. The design of the PS5 is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Sometimes Spider-Man Miles Morales can feel too similar to what's come before.
The core gameplay loop is pretty much the same.
Spider-Man Miles Morales' New York is largely the same as the one in 2018 Spider-Man.
The new Spider-Man game isn't really all that new. It uses the same city map, just this time there's a coating of snow, some holiday decorations, it adds a little seasonal flavor.
The game does look better on PS5, but it isn't a drastic difference. Though Miles controls pretty much exactly like Peter did in 2018 Spider-Man, so despite being a new Spider-Man, Miles doesn't actually play like a new Spider-Man.
It's being called the biggest fucking waste of your hard-earned money to come along in years. Sony's new stupid box thing.
While it's being released for the PlayStation 5, Guerrilla Games says they did most of their development on the PlayStation 4's hardware. So, if you haven't been able to snag a PS5 just yet, don't worry. Guerrilla Games says the PS4 version will not be a compromised way to enjoy your journey through the Forbidden West.
This game is indeed still cross-generation like many other big Sony releases this year, but unlike the likes of, say, Horizon the Forbidden West, the differences here are a little more on the subtle side.
Sony has no new games and major franchises coming this year. We do not plan to release any new major existing franchise titles next fiscal year.
It's a game so nice they built it thrice. There is something inherently inessential about it that it can't quite shake as a remake of an already fabulous remaster.
Now there's an argument to be made that The Last of Us Part 1 is too similar to the PS3 and PS4 version to be considered a remake, and part of me agrees with that sentiment. The story is identical, the level design is exactly the same, and the gameplay, apart from some quality of life improvements, is unchanged.
While the faithfulness to such a revered game is appreciated, the remastered version already fills that void, so it's hard not to wonder what Naughty Dog could have done if they'd taken a more radical approach.
2023 was, of course, an unusually quiet year for PlayStation's first-party output, with Marvel's Spider-Man 2 being the only major release to fit that billing.
Spider-Man 2 is not a game you should waste your money on. Not at all.
Spider-Man 2's combat is very familiar. It doesn't have that new suit smell anymore, but stand the original alongside the sequel in other ways, and it can look a bit like two Spider-Man games pointing at each other.
There's quite a bit of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 that can be summed up as more of the same.
Oh boy, more old shit.
We now have The Last of Us Part 2 remastered. Side-by-sides suggest that the two versions are a match in terms of basic image quality. The PlayStation Store description of the game also highlights improved shadow quality and texture quality, which are pretty tough to spot. The presentation of shadows appears nearly identical between the two versions.
Sony reveals the release date of the PlayStation 6, and fans go crazy. Are we talking PlayStation 6 already?